Piggybacking on number 3, no color continuity throughout the film. Whenever you are watching a film that has a unique look. Alright guys, before you head out into the world as a filmmaker, I wanted to arm you with the top 10 mistakes new filmmakers make. Stay tuned. Number 1, frame overexposure. So whenever I watch a film coming from an indie film newbie, I always realize there's a portion of the shot or some portion of the frame that's very overexposed, and not intentionally. It's just completely blown out. There's simply far too much light hitting that area of the frame for the camera's sensor to even recognize what's going on. Usually it'll be around where the light source is in the frame, like a lamp for instance. You'll see that that area of the frame is usually going to be overexposed, which means no matter what you do in post-production, that area of the frame that is being hit by so much light is completely being destroyed, which means no matter what you do in post, the data that the light is obscuring is, well, for the most part, gone. Number 2, poor cinematic composition. So there are a ton of errors that filmmakers could make in this department, but if I had to boil it down to a few differentiating aspects, I would have to say it would have to be not leveling the shot, excessive negative space, not utilizing the rule of thirds, or not utilizing any other film composition technique. So a leveler comes standard on most tripods, but unfortunately, new filmmakers tend to overlook them. Now, unless you're going for some kind of a very specific Dutch angle, then it's very important for new filmmakers to completely level each and every shot before each new setup. Anytime you move the tripod, please, for the love of all things, make sure that little green bubble is in the center. To put it plainly, negative space is the space in between and around the subject of your image, like these areas. All of the negative space in the frame should serve a purpose compositionally. This can aid your story or it can hurt it. In your endeavor to create a more balanced composition, you can utilize different composition and framing techniques such as the rule of thirds, which is essentially where you divide the frame into thirds and place your subject on one of those intersecting lines. Number 3, white balance. Have you ever seen a student film or an unprofessional or unpolished work and one composition does not match the color of the frame right after it? You're in the same scene, same moment, completely different colors. Well, this is because that individual, perhaps maybe they forgot to white balance. On a professional film shoot, where you want each and every color and detail to look as true to its natural color as possible, you want to manually white balance. This is a process where your camera takes a picture of a white, meaning a white construction paper or a white balance card, and they utilize that color as the basis for all of the other colors in the image. Now, as lighting conditions begin to change throughout the shoot, you will want to manually white balance again. Now, I usually white balance before every shot on any client project or on a film shoot. Now, all phones and cameras come with an auto white balance feature, but film cameras and photography cameras, those cameras usually come with manual white balance features. Now, as camera technology continues to improve and things get better throughout the years, the gap between auto white balancing and manual white balancing will definitely shrink and shrink and shrink. But for now, white balancing that's manual is king, and still for the pros. Number 4, piggybacking on number 3, no color continuity throughout the film. So whenever you are watching a film that has a unique look, it has very consistent color continuity all throughout the shots. Now, white balancing is going to help with that, but also you're going to have to pay attention to whoever your colorist is in post to ensure that all of the colors match up properly. There is nothing more jarring than watching a film coming from a new up-and-coming filmmaker and seeing one shot completely different in color tone, color temperature, than the next shot that comes right after. these two shots just have two completely different color temperatures. Just remember, when filming a scene, please maintain color continuity amongst your shots. Additionally, the entirety of your film should have a consistent look and feel. The 180 rule. Oh my God. Okay, here's a sore spot for me. Whenever there are two or more characters in your film and they're having a conversation, there is an invisible eye line that basically creates a sense of continuity and perspective for your audience that these characters create while they're speaking to each other. So let's say you're filming over the shoulder of character A and B. If you place the camera over the right shoulder of character A, then so as to maintain continuity, you have to place the camera over the left shoulder of character B. And this creates consistent perspective for your audience. If not, the audience will be disoriented and or confused, and it may even seem like a character is jumping from one side of the screen to the next for no other reason other than the fact that the filmmaker is not utilizing the 180 rule. Now, you can re-establish perspective with a close-up, a cutaway, whatever, but just bear this in mind when you're filming. Number 6, well, I'm gonna hurt somebody's feelings when I say this one. All right, so not having a casting team. Okay, sure, if it's our first film and our goal is to simply become better at the craft, sure, fine, no need. But if we're hoping for our films to get into film festivals, garner laurels, attention, and most importantly, acquire sales and get as much watch time as possible on streaming platforms, then please at least consider building your own casting team. If you can help it, this team should consist of, excluding yourself, 1 to 2 individuals who have acting and or casting experience. In addition to auditioning them and viewing their acting reels, having this measure in place ensures that you have just as much talent in front of the camera as you have behind the camera. Nothing sinks a film faster than poor performances. Number 7, no cinematic screenwriting structure. So structure does not pigeonhole filmmakers into doing this thing or that thing or this thing or that thing. No, but just act as a guideline to provide a more emotionally fulfilling and more emotionally well-rounded cinematic experience. To create the most fulfilling cinematic experience possible. Now, I have tons of videos on the channel when it comes to screenwriting format and filmmaking structure, but it's important to realize what those intrinsic muscle movements of story are. Beyond what we were taught in grade school, it has to have a beginning, middle, and end. For feature films, I'd highly recommend reading Story by Robert Mckee, and for shorts, I'd highly recommend How Not to Write a Short Film by Roberta Munroe. Also, if you wanted your film to stand out in addition to structure, you also want to think about mastering the art of saying a lot while saying very little, which I did not do in that sentence, but we'll get there. Number 8, poor audio quality and poor audio mix. So if your film has dialogue, I urge you to please practice, 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 as your film's audio is even more important than the visuals. Crystal clear, beautiful audio is so much more important than any beautiful visual image you can put on the screen. If the audio quality is poor, it will be perceived as inferior in the eyes of most customers and most audiences all around the world. We see ads in theaters, on TVs, on our phones, on our computers. We live in an age where we consume so much auditory content, and unless your film has such unique elements where we can completely disregard the audio found on platforms like TikTok or Instagram, then our content has greater potential to sink to the bottom of the internet content pool. I beg you, please bring a competent audio engineer on your film shoots. Vet them, listen to their work, and pin their work against professional audio you've heard and seen on TV. Watch an episode of 24, watch an episode of House, watch an episode of Stranger Things. And if it sounds like Stranger Things, hire them. If it doesn't sound like Stranger Things, think twice. Number 9, not utilizing depth of field. Film newcomers probably don't even know what depth of field is, but it simply refers to what is in focus in your frame and what's out of focus. In popular films, television shows, YouTube channels, and other content creators, they all know how to utilize depth of field in order to construct a well-framed image, in order to bring an audience in on the journey. So just simply take note of how your favorite films and TV shows utilize depth of field in order to bring the audience in. Number 10, poor shot transitions. look no further than the phenomenal Best Picture winner, Shape of Water, to see how each new shot seamlessly flows into the shot preceding it. As we build upon our filmmaking knowledge, we begin to realize that there is a strong relationship between our story and how each shot flows into the next. This has tremendous impact on how our film is received by audiences all around the globe. Just as effortlessly as water flows, so too must our shots, gracefully moving in and out of each other. So I'm looking to work with new independent filmmakers to assist you in helping your feature films or shorts. If you'd like to discuss how I can help you, please click in the link in the description below so I can help you create a sustainable future while pursuing filmmaking full time. Don't forget to watch my film. It's on Amazon Prime, Tubi TV, Hoopla, and a lot of other streaming platforms. You can also find that in the link in the description below as well. That's it for me. It's always a pleasure talking to you guys. Until next time, see ya.